So what is going on, Resident Evil fans? It's your boy Amaziah here, coming at you guys with a little bit of news about Resident Evil 2 Remake. So when it comes to Resident Evil 2 Remake, they're going to change a few things, and the things that they've said to me personally definitely sound great, and I'm going to go ahead and get right into these. So the first thing, and one of the biggest things that they talked about, not the biggest thing that they talk about, but one of the biggest things they talked about, is that there will apparently be more exploration around the city before you reach the RPD station, as of course they were asked specifically whether or not we would have a lot more traversal through Raccoon City this time around. Now, as you know, Resident Evil 3 spent a lot of time allowing you to traverse the actual city, so of course Resident Evil 2 focused more so on the RPD station, as if I'm not mistaken, these two games do take place around the same exact time. So pretty much while Leon and Claire are making their way through the RPD station, Jill is pretty much making her way through the event of Resident Evil 3. So there's those two situations that's going on at the same time. So definitely I think that we may have some kind of little bit of exploration to where we may actually have some kind of cameo for Jill. Potentially we'll be making our way through the town, and then of course there will be like a gate that blocks us off, and if you're paying attention you could potentially see Jill like running around in the background and stuff, but you can't interact with her, and potentially we could see that a lot more. See her a couple times before we reach the RPD station as we head towards our own, of course, story with Leon and Claire. Now, another thing they also confirmed is that Claire will actually be a playable character. Claire will not be a companion in the sense of how we've had companions in other games, to where of course we have the over-the-shoulder gameplay style. She will actually be playable. She will have her very own story. We actually heard about this within the leak, in which of course the leaker actually told us that there will be a lot of different stories now and a lot more characters will be fleshed out. In fact, hell, the lieutenant that Leon meets at the beginning of the game, before of course he starts to really explore the RPD station, he even plays a huge role, and of course he even informs Leon within the demo that Claire has made it to the RPD station, as he makes it there at least probably about 20 to 30 minutes prior, and he does a little bit of exploration around the place to actually find out some stuff and unlock some things to actually try and find their way out of the RPD station. So another thing, in moving away from of course like traversal and of course these two characters, typewriters and other nuanced aesthetic touches will be making a return, and I think that this is a damn good thing, because one of the things that we can really see within of course the trailers, and it doesn't really present it like in a way that informs us whether or not the aesthetic touches like typewriters and stuff will be making a return and things like that, is that they're definitely making it a little bit more modern. They're definitely dealing with like some modern Resident Evil gameplay schemes, and of course Resident Evil 2, although it did have like that huge ass laboratory at the bottom of underground in Raccoon City, of course there's definitely a lot of stuff there within the trailers that showcase things as if like of course it's modern all the way through. However, when it comes to the development team, they knew that there were things like of course typewriters and other little things and stuff that nuanced the game and made the game have that personality within it that made it feel special. They know that those things are in there, and they're definitely going to live up to them. However, they did make a few touches and a few changes, so that way of course there's some new obstacles, so that way we're not just playing the exact same game. And to be honest, I'm not really bothered by it at all, compared to of course how we were thinking things were going to happen due to other rumors that came out. We were thinking that it was going to be like, oh, first person shooter, then of course there was going to be all of these different changes, and it pretty much would have been like Resident Evil 7 but within the RPD station, and of course the other areas that Resident Evil 2 takes place in. Now this is something that's very special to me. The special events such as of course the liquor original encounter, or the initial encounter with a liquor, of course has been changed to environmental hints for a new surprise. So we saw this throughout the gameplay time that they had with the game, and that's that of course there were these claw marks on the wall. There were zombies and stuff hosted up on the damn ceiling, so there was a bunch of different signs and stuff that a liquor was going to come. However, it never did appear within a demo, and it definitely didn't appear where it originally appeared in Resident Evil 2. And I think that this is a cool way to actually add new touches, because now that we know that this is going to be how they're going to handle old situations, we don't know exactly when these things are going to happen. So imagine being on like 5 fucking pistol rounds, and then of course you're running around and shit, and you're you're trying to traverse, and then of course that's when the moment when the liquor actually pops up. Imagine that, rather than, of course, I know in Resident Evil 2, you know, we already know what to do then, so we pretty much conserve a lot of ammo just to make sure that if you do want to go ahead and take the liquor out rather than running past it, which is pretty much what I do. I pretty much run past it at this point. I've learned not to really waste my ammo on it, because even though they're pretty quick, you can get around it pretty easily as long as you know like where it is when you start to mosey your way around it. So you know, we'll never know now when it's going to pop up. So it could pop up like far later. Hell, they could have even programmed it to make sure that you're at a disadvantage when it finally does appear. So who knows? When it comes to the balancing of the game, the balancing has been worked to build up and progress throughout experience. So pretty much there's going to be like this kind of experience thing that goes on with Leon. I'm pretty sure it's not like some real RPG level up system, because we didn't see anything like that. However, the further along you go within the game, there will be like these kind of add-ons to your weapons and stuff that will make aiming and stuff easier for you. So of course that's going to help. So the experience will get a little bit more smoother, and of course you'll start to balance yourself out. One of the things that I definitely love about what we see from the demo thus far is that Leon definitely seems to be the weaker of the two adversaries. So Leon being our protagonist, the zombies being the enemies, or of course the little grunts and stuff that are common, they do seem to be pretty strong, and they do seem to be stronger than they did in the original game. In the original game, the way how they tried to balance the game out was pretty much having a few enemies and stuff that you had to face, which would cause you to have to worry about like crowd management. In this game, there is still crowd management, however the zombies are stronger. And the thing about that when it comes to the representation of the zombies is that this is how I always expected a zombie game to feel. The zombies should be stronger than you until of course you're pulling out a shotgun, because I mean, do you really think a pistol can like kill 20 people before 20 people can run up on you? I don't think so. So of course definitely this is how they're trying to make the game feel. And with this, of course, they also added a new system that has like, you know, it'll help you with crowd management. And what this is that it allows you to dismember the zombies, and of course this also plays into the gory effect that we've seen throughout the trailers. So all of that gore we've been seeing in the trailers and stuff, with the zombies having like these huge ass holes and patches in their skin and stuff, potentially those holes come from actual rounds and stuff shot into a zombie. As if you shoot a zombie in the head, their head will actually have like their skin peel back, and then of course I think, if I'm not mistaken, blood will actually leak down from the top of their heads as of course they still progress towards you. And I think that that's some cool ass shit. That is some cool ass fucking shit. It just adds to, of course, the overall aesthetic and feel to the fucking game. So definitely they're going in the right direction. Now, the last thing I think we have to talk about here is the health bar. And this is the one that kind of does make me feel like it's a little bit weird that they did it this way, but potentially it could be something that they tested, and of course when I actually get my hands on the game it will be great. It's gonna be a weird one to leave this video off on, but the health bar is only visible when you're being attacked outside of menus. So when you go to the menu, you will see the health bar. You will know how much health you have. However, unlike, of course, other Resident Evil games, there is no health bar just on the HUD. In fact, the HUD is almost non-existent in this game. I think there's only information on your ammos. So, of course, there is no true HUD within this game compared to, like, other Resident Evil games. Now, when it comes to this game, and, of course, the old Resident Evil games 1 through 3, and, of course, some of the games that came out later on, like Code Veronica, these games were a lot more based on the horror aspect, and these games didn't have a HUD per se. Now, while this game will be informing us, to my knowledge, of the ammunition that we have within our guns, it definitely is understandable that they would remove the health bar, because that kind of always made the Resident Evil games feel like action games. You know what I'm saying? Like Resident Evil 5, I think Resident Evil 4 was the game that started it, and Resident Evil 4 actually did have a lot of action within it. Even though it didn't overstep its boundaries with the action that it had within it, and of course it played its action up as if like it was some kind of serious joke, but of course still placed in a horror setting, which is what made it work. With Resident Evil 5, that pretty much destroyed that whole system. Resident Evil 6, once again, further along in destroying that system. Of course, that Resident Evil 4 had established. But with this game, they're going back to the horror and not giving us truly information on how sick we are, or how, I mean, not how sick, how hurt we are. And of course, this is something that is going to lead to people having to really be aware of visual cues, and I like that. I love the fact that visual cues will be important. Hell, I would have loved if there wasn't a health bar if you didn't go to your menus, period. Because I feel like you should honestly be paying attention to the visual cues within the game. I feel like that would have just helped with, of course, the experience when it comes to the horror that you're actually facing. So definitely, yeah, I mean, I think right now Resident Evil 2 remake, as worried about it as we were prior to the announcement, as cool as it seemed, of course, and how modern it seemed in the trailer, if you were worried about how modern it fucking seemed, of course, with all of that stuff, I can honestly say that Resident Evil 2 remake potentially may edge out Resident Evil 2 the original when it comes to the gameplay and everything. Of course, it's over the shoulder now, and people may be against that still. People may still be on the offensive about that still. But of course, I feel like once we get our hands on this game, it could potentially be a great ass experience. And of course, the director and the producer of this game, they just took the game and honestly made me happy. They made me smile with what I'm seeing from Resident Evil 2 Remake. So this has pretty much been like a little bit of news that we've gotten from Resident Evil 2 Remake. Finding out that Claire will in fact be playable. She won't be some kind of companion like, of course, in Resident Evil 5 or Resident Evil 4 style. She will actually have her very own story. Characters will be fleshed out apparently like the leaker proposed. And that's going to be super fucking cool because, of course, having these characters that you can now get attached to before they get their face bitten off is going to be fucking great, man. Reliving this experience is going to be fucking great. But this has been your boy Amaziah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button to stay tuned for more of my Resident Evil 2 Remake coverage. I will do my best to actually stay on top of Resident Evil 2 Remake, as of course this is going to be one of the games I definitely want to experience with all of you guys later on down the line in 2019. Thank you guys once again for tuning into the video, and peace the heck out.